two teams qualify for the next stage of the Champions League. Who finishes third goes into the Europa League, and fourth, you're out in your year, you're finished for the year. So, Group A, no surprise there. Bayern Munich top the table, walked through handy enough. But I suppose the big surprise is that Manchester United finished fourth and last and are knocked out of Europe this year. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Paul, I know we heard about the draw yesterday, but to review the group, Bayern Munich top of the group, that wasn't much of a surprise, to be fair. But Manchester United's performance in Europe's abysmal. When you think of the stature of the club, I mean, to lose to Copenhagen, to lose at home to Galatasaray, lost home and away to Bayern Munich. I mean, on the last day of games, the last round of games, they needed to beat Bayern Munich at home and hope that Copenhagen Galatasaray drew. Now, it's hard enough to get one winner in the game, but to get a draw in the game is very, very hard for that to happen in your favour. And I thought, Manchester United, their performance at home to Bayern Munich, they didn't really create much ball, to be fair. I don't think Bayern Munich got out of first gear or second gear to play. They were through. I know they were hammered in the league by Frankfurt, I think it was, by 5-1, and very, very unusual result for them in the Bundesliga. They're not top at the moment. They've won 11 in a row, but they're, other than Harry Kane, I think Didi Jimenez are the two-man team with Sané and Harry Kane at the moment. Harry Kane's goals, they're not performing as well as they normally would this time of year. But in the Champions League group, they did very well. Won every game except for a game at home to Copenhagen. They have an unbelievable record, Paul. I don't think they've lost a game in the group stages of Champions League for nearly 6 years. So there was a big ask for Manchester United to beat them. But having said that, I don't think they created enough chances. It was Bayern Munich. They got the goal. Kingsley Coman, I think, finished it off for a 1-0 win for Bayern Munich. And Manchester United scored enough goals. I think they scored as many goals as you can see there. They scored as many goals as Bayern Munich in the group, but they just conceded far too many goals. That's the Rashford sent it off against Copenhagen. I think changed everything in the group. I think they could still have rescued it if they beaten Copenhagen. They got a draw against Galatasaray. Manchester United, I feel, should have got out of that group, but they weighed themselves to blame, Paul. They 1-1 match at home to Copenhagen, and they needed a penalty save by Onana to secure that win. They created numerous chances in all the other games except for the game they last played against Bayern Munich at home. And they know themselves they've made a mess of it. Their fans will say they made a mess of it.
Yeah. Okay, Noel, we move on to Group B, and Arsenal, as you can see, they are top the table, 4 wins, a draw and a loss. But I suppose the big surprise was Sevilla not qualifying for the top two, but normally they finish third and go into the Europa League, but this time they just completely collapsed and finished last and they're knocked out of it.
Yeah, Paul, that was the thing. I mean, many people felt, I think Sevilla, that's very disappointing. Obviously it is very disappointing into the group. I felt they could have got second from before the whole group started, Paul. I know they always drop into the Europa League and go on and win it. They got Sergio Ramos. They're now back playing for them now. He's an experienced player. I think he got the penalty against Lens. They would make a 1-1. If they had won, they had a chance. But yeah, Arsenal coasted right through. Won 4 games, drew 1, lost 1, of course. But they're already guaranteed a top spot before the last group of matches. They drew 1-1 against PSV Eindhoven. That scored PSV Eindhoven second place. Lens finished third, and they're going to the Europa League now. But yeah, I felt before the start of that group that Arsenal should be topping it, and they did. And it was just a toss-up then between the rest of the 3 teams. And Sevilla, as you said, were surprised that they didn't really make more of a fist for second or third to finish bottom. And I think PSV Eindhoven, if you look through the group, they're probably just about deserve second place.
Yeah. Now we go. Next one is Group E. Atletico Madrid won it, and Lazio, and both teams are well clear. But I suppose the biggest disappointment, Celtic finished last. They were picked by Feyenoord for the last place. So, and I actually believe they won the last game, so they were already beaten after 5 rounds, and they finished last. Look, it looks like they're going to walk to a Scottish title, but I'm afraid the Scottish League, which is one of the oldest leagues in the world, the standard has dropped down to the floor, and Celtic are suffering for it now. They're not even competitive now in Europe. So just a quick word: Celtic knocked out Europe in the group stage.
Yeah, I would say Paul, to be fair, it's guaranteed. I know I think they're 5 or 6 points ahead of Rangers, but I think Rangers do have 2 games in hand, if I'm not mistaken. I think Rangers were playing at the League Cup in Scotland there the weekend, as far as I believe.
Yeah.
and Celtic lost 2-0 at home to Hearts. So Rodgers back for second time.
You always say you shouldn't go
say you
back
should
now. Let's
never
say
go
about
back.
managers.
Yeah, you should never go back. Yeah, and I think that's true. To be fair, I know from my own club, Marino came back. He won the league title, but it ended very, very badly for him in the third season. They always say you should never go back, Paul. The first time is never as good as the second time. Sorry, is never as good as your first because it's something new for you, and it's the way he left for Leicester probably wasn't on good terms with Celtic fans. He probably wanted to get back into the game straight after being sacked by Leicester, but I think Celtic. The money isn't there for in the Scottish League, Paul. They're playing teams that are substandard standard, other than Rangers, and I think Rangers themselves have struggled in Europe as well. They didn't get into the Champions.
Sorry, no, if I couldn't cross you. Like, if you go back 25 years ago, you had Aberdeen back in the 80s won the Cup Winners' Cup, and Dundee United got to UEFA Cup final, got to European Cup semi-final. Hearts and Hibernian were always competitive. Celtic and Rangers were neck and neck, but all the other teams have fallen off the wagon. Rangers have fallen off the wagon for financial reasons. I think Rangers won a league about 4 years ago. Before that, Celtic had won 8 in a row. Now they've won 2 or 3 in a row. So they're completely dominant. And what really is, the other clubs now, except for the odd occasion, are not competitive. So it's very hard to step up to Europe then.
It is. You can see the standard when they play into Champions League. They're just particularly away from home. The last 6 in Atletico Madrid, Atletico coasted 1-4, drew 2 and lost no game. They coasted this group. Lazio were very competitive in the games they played as well. Celtic lost to Feyenoord 2-0 in the first game, and you can see the step up in class that they have. It's very hard for Celtic to be competitive, even get into Europa League nowadays. They've had a terrible record in Europe. I think last Wednesday night they beat Feyenoord, but as you said, they were already finished bottom. But they won their first game at home in the Champions League for 10 years. Now, obviously, they weren't in it for a lot of them years, Paul, but they won their first game at home in the Champions League for 10 years. So that's back nearly Neil Lennon's first time, if I'm not mistaken. So it has, they're in a league, Paul, where it's like a one main rival. That rival has been poor enough for the last, you could say, 12 years. They have finished the race, as you said. Celtic won 9 in a row. Rangers won in 2020 to stop at 10 in a row. And Celtic won the last show in the Postecoglou Club, but he's got to Tottenham now. So what can you do for Celtic? They're in a league that's it's the trouble is your league isn't as competitive as you would like. It's like PSG with France. We get onto them in a minute. But if you're dominating your league all the time, winning 9 in a row or 8 in a row, whatever it is, it's very hard for the step up in class when you go into the Champions League.
And the thing about if you're winning 7 or 8 in a row, you don't have to be playing brilliantly. You can be poor for a number of games because the other teams are so poor they don't take advantage of you. So you don't even have to play at your best to win, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. And investment is what Celtic need, but in the end of the day, the money that they buy for players, obviously I think you get something like £10 million sterling when you go into the Champions League when you qualify for it. And obviously you get more money as you draw or win and get out of the group, but it's very hard to see any Scottish team, Celtic or Rangers, whoever wins the league title this year, to get into the Champions League. They'll probably get into it by winning their league. Now, obviously, the coefficient might go down, so they both have to go into the playoffs next year. We don't know, but the format is changing now that I think of it, actually. So it might be actually easier for them to get into. I just don't know how exactly this new format is going to work. But yeah, Celtic need investment. Obviously, to win their league title this year, they're only got cup games now and in the league, so that's what they'll focus on. And just one note, Paul, there is a good Irish interest in this. Liam Scales, he's an Irish international. He's come through. He's taking his chance. There was a few injuries for Celtic at the start of the season for their centre backs. I think he was out on loan last year at Aberdeen. He came from he comes through UCD and Shamrock Rovers, and he's really blossomed now into a good standard of player. Obviously, he's a long way to go yet, but it's good. It's good that he's getting a chance now at Celtic because he looks a good young player. I saw him playing at home to Greece. Now he probably didn't have his best game in that game, but I think he's come on leaps and bounds. Obviously, it's hard for a step up when you come from the League of Ireland into Scotland and into Champions League. But I think he's doing very, very well. He's probably one of the Celtic's best players. He got man of the match at the Champions League game against Feyenoord, and we have to say it's a long, long time since an Irish international got a man of the match performance in the Champions League. So I think that's one positive look at it. Yeah. But as you said, they finished in bottom, out of it before the last game. So something that they're going to have to move on.
Yeah, Group F, they are Newcastle, first time in about 20 years. They finished last. knocked out. But I think the last game they lost to AC Milan, if they had won that at home,
Yeah.
they'd have probably finished third. So just missed out in qualification for the Europa League.
I know it looks poor enough when you see 5 points with 6 games, but Newcastle were right in it, Paul, up to the very end. And I think what killed off Newcastle is the amount of injuries they've had. Obviously, my own club, Chelsea, we're playing them now tonight in the League Cup quarterfinal, but they're being decimated by injuries, and they just couldn't cope at the end of it. They were out on their feet. I think the 1-0, they were deservedly ahead at 1-0 at half time, Paul. They were playing better football. AC Milan hadn't really turned up. They had one, maybe half chance in the first half. They got a lucky break. I think the goal was bobbing around the box and Punish just put the ball back in the net. And you can see the confidence come right back into AC Milan. Now, the game in the other game was 1-1. PSG had numerous chances, they couldn't finish them. And Dortmund were holding PSG quite comfortably near the end. And it was a shootout. You see, AC Milan needed Dortmund to win. Newcastle, because of the goal difference, I won't go too technical about it. AC Milan, the best thing AC Milan could do with the results that things were going was to get to win and get into the Europa League. But if Newcastle had gotten that 2-1 instead, they would have gone into the second place because they would have beaten PSG in the head-to-head. Yeah. Newcastle beat PSG at home and they drew them away. Yeah. So it's just the way it went, Paul. They're out on their feet, injuries caught up with them.
I suppose, just before we move on, it just shows when you go into Europe, you have to have a big enough squad because you're also playing with domestic stuff, and then your games wins, the Tuesday wins, and the games the weekend, and it does take its toll.
Oh, it does, Paul. There's been so many games. I think a lot of people now think there's too many games. There's this Club World Cup happening too, as you see for Manchester City. They're expanding the Club World Cup in 2025, or even Chelsea, or even getting into my own club, but we won the Champions League in 2021. So it's a bit of a fiasco, Paul, to be honest. With the Nations League, Club World Cup, Champions League, League Cup, Premier League, there's far too many games in my view for players, and that's why the standard of games aren't as good as they were.
Back in the good old days, no, back in the days of the black and white television, as the man says. Right, we'll finish up now. Group G, and you didn't have to be a rocket scientist. If you knew nothing about soccer, you could have just predicted Manchester United or Manchester City. Sorry, I apologise. Manchester City. In a Freudian slip there. I said they didn't get out of second gear. They won all their matches. They didn't even play brilliantly, I thought, and it was obvious what was happening. They were going to walk through it. A soft group, I thought.
A very soft group, Paul. I think 6 games against Leipzig, Young Boys, and Red Star Belgrade. That's Red Star, yeah. Yeah, because I can't really pronounce the new name of the club, but
no, that's actually the original name in Serbia, but it's called Red Star.
Red Star, yeah. We'll just make it easier on ourselves. No, I think Manchester City. No. To be fair, I think it was Leipzig would 2-0 up at home away to Manchester City, and Manchester City. I think they needed a point at the time to secure top spot, but that was the only real trouble they had in the group, to be honest with you, Paul. They sailed through most of them. They won 3-1, 4-2. I think they even beat Red Star with a group of kids 3-2. I think, if I'm not mistaken, their last group game. They're already guaranteed top. They're already guaranteed into the last 16. They're defending champions. Won 6 games. That's no surprise.
Leipzig. Again, and obviously because the defending champions, the seeding system suits you too. You get a soft draw. But look, they won the games in front of them, and we'll speak about it again when we get into the knockout stages.